political, there it is. I gotta know the story behind that. I'm at Santa Monica Beach, one of my favorite places to come down in the mornings. I like to see the ocean right here. And it's a great place to get my thoughts together. I'm sure everybody has a favorite spot where they can go and be still. Be still. It's important. A lot of times we don't spend enough time taking care of our minds and letting ourselves relax and be still. The reason I'm down here today is because I was heavily censored by Facebook last week, which is why I'm gonna move from Facebook over to YouTube. So please click on the link below. It goes to my YouTube. Or if you clicked on this video, you're in my YouTube, click subscribe, click the bell button, and that way you'll always be notified. You know, the conservation conversation started 13 weeks ago, and it's grown and grown and grown in popularity. It's grown in iTunes, it's grown on Spotify, and the reach has grown on Facebook, yet the amount of views that we get and the algorithm itself is kind of preventing it. Okay, so as you may be aware, a few weird things happened on this week's episode of the Conservation Conversation. The first was we put the ad out and it took it right down because of all the references we made and all the stories we were telling. Then it blocked me being able to link to Scott Wilson's website, which is anglersvoice.weebly.com, in case anybody couldn't get it before. Then when Scott called me, the audio wasn't working, and it works for everyone else. I tested it, it worked fine. Did not work for him. Then when the show came on, you may have noticed that there was all these red bars stacking up, and it was saying it couldn't connect to my server, which again was weird because I was not getting those notices on my side, only on the Facebook side. Then the third weird thing was my website was down. Somebody let me know my website's down. So I go into my website and somehow it had been disconnected from my domain name. I reconnected it, everything was fine. So for my ad to be taken down, for my audio not to work, for my comments not to work, and for my website to be offline, all in the same day was just a very weird thing. I've never experienced it before. As Scott said on the show, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but it does beg the question, is Scott being censored? And when you try to go to anglersvoice.weebly.com, you'll find out that he is, because you can't even put that link on Facebook. So I don't think we should continue to show it on Facebook. Facebook has turned into a very weird political arena of censorship. So I had heard from various activists that Facebook has been limiting their reach, limiting their ability to reach their audience, limiting their ability to advertise, and limiting their ability to speak freely. It appears we have entered a new era of censorship. You know, the internet used to be a place where we could all work together, combine our interests, combine our passions, and form groups. Well, they've learned this about us, so they're going to start to make it more difficult. So unfortunately, I think Facebook is no longer the platform it once was for being able to get together with like-minded people and speak openly and freely. Please, if you've been censored by Facebook, put your comments down below here. Tell me what happened. I'm very curious because it seems to be a growing issue, and especially people that speak out against things as they are. And, you know, Mark Zuckerberg has said over and over and over that Facebook is not necessarily an open forum anymore. They are allowing political ads while they're banning them on Twitter, and meanwhile they're banning my work because it has to do with conservation, preservation, and I guess that's not a topic that they want. You know, there's an old philosophy that in order to control the conversation, you control the menu. People can't order what's not on the menu. You know, that's the political philosophy. So the idea is if we limit the conversation, then we limit what people are doing. There's a thing on Facebook called a walled garden. And what that means is that they take what you're interested in and they create an algorithm that lets you wander through the world. You know, if you are like me, you know, you're not going to run into hunting blogs. You're only going to see conservation blogs or vegan blogs. You're not going to see trophy hunting blogs. It's all geared towards wandering us through a personalized internet experience. So Facebook is reading what you're doing, figuring out what you're doing, and then making sure you live within what's called a walled garden, so that you never end up running into things that you find upsetting or things that you don't necessarily agree with, because otherwise they would have to really do a double take on their community standards, because one person's interest is another person's horror. And on Facebook, that freedom to express ourselves is becoming more and more limited as days go on. I was very surprised to be so obviously censored by Facebook. I've never had the chat thing happen before. It's never happened since. I've been testing it. Everything works fine on Skype before, everything works fine on Skype since, and Scott checked everything. A walled garden is what it's called, and they're leading us through these walled gardens so that we think that the internet has everything that we want. And it's almost like a hidden sales technique. So remember, they're feeding you your interests and they're trying to keep away your disinterests. And in doing so, they're limiting free speech. Personally, we have way too many things to talk about for us to be censored by Facebook. So I'll be advertising on Facebook and I'll be showing everybody what's happening. But remember, from now on, the show's going to be over on YouTube. It's a big decision that I made. I really have enjoyed Facebook, but to be censored this heavily and to hear about other people being censored this heavily, there's no point in trying to do the kind of work that I do in conservation and activist filmmaking in order to keep that kind of censorship. It doesn't make any sense to be in a place where I'll be censored that heavily when I'm talking about topics that are already very controversial. So we need an open platform. We need to keep the internet free. And the only way we can do that is by being conscious of what's happening, keeping our eyes on when we're being censored. It's more subtle these days because of the walled garden. You don't always know when you're being censored. But I have very good friends that live on the other side of the political spectrum, and their news feeds are entirely different than mine, and their sources are different. And what that means is that their foundation of reality becomes different, because we all are quoting different sources and we're all talking about different topics. Well, same topics, but different angles on the same topics, which creates sort of a separation. And we've seen this separation over the last few years. So we have to remember that the internet can unify us, but it can also separate us. And sometimes it separates us without knowing that we're being separated. Anyway, think about your walled garden. Think about your Facebook experience. Think about what happens on Facebook. Think about how often you're like, where'd my post go? Where'd my comment go? And again, very shocking week. For my ad to be taken down, for Scott's link to his website to be fully a no-no on Facebook, for Scott's audio to not work during it, and then for Facebook to censor all of the comments during the show was really extreme. And then somehow my website getting disconnected from my domain name all the same day. Very weird. I don't really know exactly what happened, but as a result, I think it's safer to just move over to YouTube and continue the activism there. So got a couple of really great things planned coming up, and I can't wait to share it with everybody, but it's coming soon. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for being conservationists. Thanks for being activists. Thanks for being you. And thanks because as you are you, that changes the world every day. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good one. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you all Saturday. Remember, it's our world. Let's talk about it.